A couple of weeks ago, the Russian comedian Sasha Maloy was in the Netherlands. I went to his concert, had a talk with him backstage, and we also, in a group of people, went out for some drinks in the city. And that's why today I want to share with you the first joke of his first solo performance and analyze the vocabulary and grammar so you can better understand what's going on. And it's going to be helpful if you're learning Russian. Let's get started. Бывало у вас такое. Бывать is from to happen. And if you say бывало такое, it means like, has something like this happened. Такое is more like this, but if it's like такое бывало, it's like, has something like this happened. У вас means like by you or with you. So has something like this ever happened with you.
Что вы идете по улице.
Что вы идете по улице means like that вы идете, you are going. По улице means like along the street. По улице, on the street, along the street.
И вам навстречу идут люди другие.
И вам навстречу идут люди другие. So, идут другие люди means like other people are going. And идти is from like to go, but it means walking. И вам навстречу, and вам is like to you, навстречу is toward. Toward you are other people.
И о чем-то пиздят своем на улице.
И они пиздят о чем-то своем. And this means like, они, пиздят, они пиздят means they're talking, but this is swearing. So don't say that. Don't say они пиздят. Они пиздят о чем-то своем. Чем-то is the prepositional case of что-то. It means like something. О чем-то своем is like about something their own. And then it says на улице, like on the street. So they're just talking about something their own.
Вы можете сказать да, если было такое. Хорошо.
И можете сказать да, если было такое. And here he addresses the public. И вы можете сказать, you can say, да, yes, если было такое. And this is kind of like a repetition from the beginning. If something like this has been. And then he says, хорошо.
И обычно, когда они проходят мимо вас.
И обычно, когда они проходят мимо вас. И обычно, and usually, когда, when, они проходят, and this is like also from идти. Пройти means like to walk by, and ходить. This is something where Russian can be quite difficult because there's different types of verbs of motion. Like for example, идти means like to go like single directional if it's like you're one time going something. And if you mean like ходить, it's more like going multi-directional or something that happens usually or more often. I go more in detail in my course, Russian Conversations Unlocked, about this. И обычно, когда... I've got a little cat that's causing havoc here. All right. И обычно, когда они проходят мимо вас, and usually when they're walking past, мимо вас, like passed by you.
Вы зацепляете только часть их фразы.
Вы зацепляете только часть их фразы. This is interesting. Вы зацепляете. It comes from the verb like цеплять. And цеплять is from the noun цеп, chain. Something like chain or to cling, for example. And зацеплять means like to hook, or in this case, kind of like to catch. For example, when in comedian, there's this thing of in comedy, there's this concept called зацепка. And this is kind of like the hook of a joke. Зацеплять is the verb of the word зацепка. And вы зацепляете только часть. Только часть means only part их фразы. And this is the genitive case, only part of their phrase.
И в 100% случаев эта часть – это ёбань какая-то.
И в 100% случаев эта часть – это ёбань какая-то. И в 100% this is, and in 100%, interesting here is that в 100%, тах is like in the prepositional case, and в 100, it's not like, if you were to completely use like the grammar rules, you might expect that it would be в 100, because prepositional case tends to use like yeah, but here you say, in 100% of the case, you say в 100%. Случаев is like instances or cases in the genitive plural. In 100% of the cases, эта часть, is referring back to this part of the sentence that you heard, это ёбань какая-то. Ёбань is like, it's a swearing word, don't say it, and it means like nonsense. And какая-то is like the adjective, some kind of nonsense.
Обращали внимание?
обращали внимание. Here he addresses the public again. He's like, did you notice? And обращаться in general means like to address. And обращать внимание is more like, did you pay attention? Внимание means attention.
Что они идут вам навстречу такие бла-бла-бла-бла-бла.
Что они идут вам навстречу, и они такие бла-бла-бла-бла-бла. Они идут, they are going вам навстречу, towards you, и они такие. Here's like, and they are like. Такие means like such or like, and they are like бла-бла-бла-бла-бла.
И только проходя мимо, они такие бла-бла-бла-бла-бла.
И только проходя мимо, они такие бла-бла-бла-бла-бла. And this is interesting here. Only проходя мимо, они такие. Проходя is where they took the previous verb that we saw, проходить. And проходя is where they took like a verb and they turned it into an adverb. Basically, проходя мимо means like passing by. You can see these verbs tend to then, like, if you turn it in an adverb, it tends to end in я, проходя мимо, walking or passing by. Они такие бла-бла-бла-бла-бла.
И вот я сосу пингвины.
И вот я сосу пингвины. And yeah, this is a completely random phrase. И вот, and here я сосу, I suck пингвины. Here I suck penguins, and you can understand what that means. The interesting thing part here is that I think it might not be completely grammatically correct the way he says it, but he speaks quickly because a penguin is an animate noun because it's alive. So, and it's in the accusative case here since someone is sucking it. So then I think it should be я сосу пингвинов, пингвинов, so like in the with an off to the end. But I think it says я сосу пингвины, so that I don't think it's correct. If you're a native speaker and watching this video, check what you think about this.
Такой, что, блядь? Что?
Это такое, что, блядь? Чё, блядь? Что? And it's like, and you're like, what? Fuck? What? And the interesting thing here is like, there's like, что means like the correct way of saying что. And if you want to put it a little bit more slangy, you can say чё. I don't recommend you say this as a foreigner because it's kind of like a little bit rude. And like if you imagine like walking up to the passport control and the guy's like looking at you and you're like чё, like don't do that. It's not going to help you in any way. Then that's блядь means fuck. Again, don't say this. Like, there's this thing, like, lots of foreigners know the word, and I remember when I did the first time comedy, I added it more in my comedy just because it adds, like, a little bit of a bite, a little bit of spice. And I like it when Russian people swear, but in general, then when I did more comedy later, I removed it, except for one time when I really could not remove it for anything else. So in general, I recommend you not say swear words.
Вы о чем там разговаривали вообще?
Вы о чем там разговаривали вообще? Вы о чем там разговаривали вообще? And here you can say, вы разговаривали. Разговаривать is a verb that comes from говорить, but it more means like have a conversation. Вы, and then if о чем, it's like about what, там, there, and вообще means in general. Вообще is a word you can add in so many sentences. It just adds like, it doesn't add like something specifically, but adds a little bit more emotional vibe. What were you talking about there in general?
Мне кажется, эта ситуация показывает, насколько важен контекст.
Мне кажется, эта ситуация показывает, насколько важен контекст. Мне кажется, to me, it seems, this is a very common way of saying, I recommend often saying it since it makes your sentences a little bit like absolute. You can get away with more of saying, мне кажется. Instead of saying like something is an absolute truth, you can just say, мне кажется. Эта ситуация, this situation, показывает, is showing, насколько, сколько means how much, and насколько is like to how much, like to what point, at what point, важен контекст. How important is the context?
Потому что, возможно, в контексте их диалога.
Потому что возможно, в контексте их диалога, because possibly in the context of their dialogue, it's like, возможно, is also a good word, possibly, в контексте is like the prepositional case of in context, их диалога is the genitive for their dialogue.
Он абсолютно объективно отсосал у пингвина.
Он абсолютно объективно отсосал пингвина. Он отсосал is like he sucked off. Russian has prefixes, and you can use this to change the meaning of verbs a little bit. And if you от, it means like from or from away of. And if you add it to сосать, to suck, it means like to suck off, like to suck away from. And you can guess what this means. And then here he says, он отсосал пингвина. And then I think here it says it correctly, that he says like it's an animate noun, so then penguin should have an a to the end. Interesting here as well as what he says, like I think if I hear it correctly, it says он отсосала, which is grammatically incorrect, because it should either be она отсосала, like she sucked off, or он отсосал, he sucked off. But I can understand that probably in his usual way of speaking in his life, there's more often that a girl does this action, and that he doesn't often say он отсосал. That's maybe why, while speaking quickly, he kind of confuses it like that. It's very funny to think about the Russian language like this. And then he also says абсолютно объективно means like absolutely objectively. And it's more like absolutely rationally. Let's put it that way. If you have a little bit more of a colloquial translation.
Если бы я слушал весь диалог, я бы сказал...
Если бы я слушал весь диалог, я бы сказал. And this is interesting. Бы is always would. And if you use a бы, then you put the verb that it's about in the past tense. So, если бы я слушал, if I would have listened, весь диалог means the whole dialogue. Oh, and also here, this comes from всё. Всё and this are the same word, just всё is like everything, and if it's an adjective for a neuter noun, but if you make it into an adjective for a masculine noun, it turns into this dialogue. Я бы сказал, I would have said.
Чувак, ты все правильно сделал.
Чувак, ты все правильно сделал. Чувак means like a slang for dude. It's not like a bad word, but I wouldn't really say it. Ты все правильно сделал. Ты сделал, you did. Все, everything правильно. You did everything correctly.
Здесь бы я отсосал. Ты вообще молодец.
Здесь бы я отсосал. Ты вообще молодец. Здесь бы я отсосал. He again says, here I would have sucked. Ты вообще молодец. Means like, ты молодец. Молодец means good job, well done. And ты молодец, like to say, like, you did a good job. Like, literally translates like, you, good job. And then we have вообще as again, like, you did a good job in general. Right, so that was the joke, the first minute or so of his solo concert, Concerto Vulgar, which probably means like vulgar concert if you translate it. And I enjoyed watching it, especially after getting to know Sasha and speaking to him. Yeah, so check this link here if you want to watch the full concert. And it is with English subtitles, with good ones, so not auto-translated. And if you're learning Russian, I think you'll enjoy it a lot.